This episode gets to be titled, Revealing My Story with Infidelity as the BS. That's betrayed spouse for those that don't know yet. It's certainly a different perspective. Let's listen in. Wife and I have been married since 2005. We have no children, we both work, and are very comfortable in life. We've worked hard on our careers and supported each other the whole time. She came from a cult-like church and raised in a purity culture. Sometime in 2016 or 2017, she started to question the church and its dangerous evangelical ties to politics. In 2019, she met her affair partner at a funeral, and she asked for his number. After a couple of weeks, I began to notice she was texting a lot more while we sat next to each other in bed. I challenged her twice if someone else was involved, or if something was going on. She denied it, since it was not sexual, just friends. I suspected something emotional. I left for about 5 weeks for an out-of-state temporary work. During that time, she would invite him over to hang out as friends and go on dates. All of this happening without my consent or knowledge. She would let him stay the night so he wouldn't risk getting a DUI since they had some drinks. Apparently, he would drink a lot. Terrible coping skills on his part. And mind you, most of the details I got were not from her, but from the affair partner in person. Eventually, she would join him on the couch, and it became sexual. Soon enough, she would bring him upstairs to the spare bedroom, and the sex continued. So, the house was defiled by their actions. His confession, by the way. I flew her down to where I was working so we could drive together back to our home. When we became intimate, I initiated. She was like a limp rag doll and totally not into it. I knew that she was hiding something, possibly an affair. I was in denial partly because she was a virgin when we married and was involved with the church. Plus, I already challenged her twice and she said no. I felt terrible after questioning, and I simply went against my instincts. After I was home, she was not the same. The affair continued, and she would visit him when I was gone for work. She eventually became cold and distant to me. She wouldn't have sex with me, nor be affectionate. She was crying and very depressed. Apparently, she started to see him at his place, and he didn't want her to get attached. He dropped an ultimatum. You divorce him, or no sex with me. I think she knew she was about to lose both worlds. She found safety, acceptance, no shame for her sexuality, and no judgment from the affair partner. None of these things she ever explained to me until after her confession. I think she wanted the stability, real love, and a real future with me, but also wanted the full acceptance and understanding from the affair partner. It was two worlds she had to pick from. That is why she was severely depressed. I believe she realized she didn't have a real future with him because he was unstable. But she didn't know if I would just outright divorce her with zero possibility of reconciliation. She did confess to me after I had deep suspicions for a good 4 months. I know she tried to undo the damage she caused before the confession by dressing the way I liked her to dress, wear her hair long, start to help with yard work, come to the gym with me, and be my friend again. When she confessed, I was devastated despite me knowing what she was about to say. I told her I can forgive her and allow reconciliation if she cuts off all ties with her affair partner. She says she couldn't promise that. I honestly couldn't figure out why she would say that despite the olive branch of peace I was offering. I became numb, disconnected, and was experiencing shock from the emotional trauma. I truly thought of hurting myself, and that's when I realized I had to get away from her. I walked out and went to the park. I called my great friend at 3:45 a.m., and he answered the phone. He told me that he knew if I was calling at 3:45 a.m., something bad was happening. We talked for an hour, and he came over and got my guns for my safety. My wife asked me, later that morning, to please not make any long-term decisions while I was emotional. I definitely wanted to divorce her and leave her with absolutely nothing. She had been going to therapy shortly after the ultimatum by her affair partner, and had been reading books on how to soothe the betrayed spouse. She gave me time alone, she communicated her sorrow, and expressed shame and guilt for what she did. After 4 days away, I came home and began dating her again. We started to have some hot and beautiful sex. For some reason, I wanted lots of sex with her. We started to see a marriage counselor together. I went to a therapist for PTSD because of the betrayal. I also joined an online discussion group for betrayed spouses. With the counselor, she agreed to cut off all communication with the affair partner. I'm doing much better now after 7 months. Together, we learned that she was dealing with emotional trauma from the purity culture. Sexual shame, women cause men to lust or stumble because of their clothing or body. Cultural norms and expectations, women are supposed to have babies, not careers. And only hetero couples are acceptable. I have created a safe place for her to express those concerns and to feel accepted. I want to share my personal experience as a betrayed husband. Immediately after the confession, I experienced shock and numbness. Things were in slow motion while my mind raced. My heart raced very fast, and I had dry mouth. I was experiencing the fight or flight response. I was angry, yet I wanted to forgive. I couldn't sleep very well for several days. I lost my appetite and dropped about 15 pounds in 1 month. My mind just couldn't think of anything but the affair. My mind created the visual scene. Anytime I got new details or I discovered new things about the affair, it was a new shockwave through my body and a setback in the recovery. I developed insomnia for at least 10 days. I lost my job because of it. Recovery was very painful and a slow process. I couldn't enjoy life or old hobbies. I was hypersensitive to noise, motion, and light when trying to sleep. When I listened to music before the affair, I didn't really pay attention to the lyrics, mostly the beat. After the affair, lyrics became crystal clear. Any music or shows about affairs became triggers. I was constantly fighting intrusive thoughts that caused me to spiral into a shutdown or emotional breakdown. I cried a lot and was suffering from severe depression. The first month or so was very difficult and nearly broke me. No, it did break my spirit. The advice I give to the betrayed is this: focus on your healing. How? Surround yourself with people who support you and love you. People who will let you rant and verbally process, and you will do a lot of it. If you need time to leave the home, find someone who will offer you safety. If you need to take a week away from work, do it. Get scheduled for counseling. Understand that you are very unstable and need a lot of time before you can make rational decisions. Make choices without overwhelming emotional bias. Do not try to control your unfaithful spouse and their healing. You need to focus on you. It took me several weeks before I felt like I could go on social media without blasting my wife publicly and exposing her to family, coworkers, neighbors, and church. Just don't do it. You may be tempted to have a revenge affair. Don't do it. Don't expect your wayward spouse healing to be like yours. My wayward spouse was already going to therapy and reading books, so she had a lead. One of the best things to help me was going to counseling, having trusted friends to dump my feelings on, and having a safe place to be. Through slow but steady healing, my wife and I are in a much better place. It's been 7 months since D-Day, Disclosure Day, and I don't have intrusive thoughts every minute. I may have them once or twice a day, and I can recognize them. I can recognize when I'm about to spiral out of control emotionally, but I use cognitive processing therapy techniques and pull myself out of it. My wife and I are having wonderful sex and doing so much better. I still have moments of resentfulness, but I let myself feel and process it. It's okay to have anger and resentfulness. It's okay to wonder if you should stay or go. It's okay to wonder if the marriage will ever be the same. I have to remember that the old marriage is dead. A new husband and wife are in this new relationship. And yes, I have every right to forgive, reconcile, rebuild the friendship, and then simply say, I am divorcing you. I know at the time of confession, I needed her. Now, I don't need her. I just want her. I choose to stay in this marriage, but reserve the right to walk away and don't have to stay. Why am I staying? I see her hard work in therapy and being there for me. We have talked and processed what was missing in our relationship. What was missing? Our inability to open up emotionally to each other. Yes, we had a strong love for each other, but we didn't make ourselves vulnerable to each other to allow confessions of the most shameful type. We just didn't know how. We both had emotionally distant parents. I was an avoidant type, I think, and simply kept things to myself. She found someone who helped her feel safe with her vulnerabilities. I know now how to create the safe place she needs and vice versa. Culturally, the stereotypical male would say I should leave her because she's tainted or a slut, despite only having been with 2 men her whole life. People make mistakes, and I have forgiven her. Our love is much stronger and our communication is so much better. Our sex has become so much more frequent, and I love how she pursues me. Yes, forgiveness is possible. Yes, the marriage can become stronger. Yes, the wayward spouse can learn from the mistake. It takes a lot of work for both of you. We will reach our 15th year of marriage shortly. Yes, the affair went on during our anniversary and her birthday. It actually went on for almost 6 months. Are certain holidays and anniversaries overshadowed with pain? Yes, absolutely. Will it go away? Honestly, I don't know, but I am hopeful. It helps to recognize the emotions I am experiencing and the racing thoughts in my mind. I process them to understand why they are there and what triggered them. My fellow betrayed friends, hang in there, and know that it is possible to recover from this, with or without your significant other. You must take care of yourself first. Do not try to control your significant other. Don't go it alone. Get help. Wow, certainly more encouraging than most of the stories we follow. Let's see what the community thinks. First up, Judith Butler. How do you stay in that house and how do you deal with the fact that she never stopped the affair or did anything without her hand being forced? Does she ever tell the truth on her own volition? Does she ever tell the truth without lying first? I don't know how you get over that in less than a year without feeling pathetic. People don't change overnight. The OP's response? Excellent questions. 1. For the house issue, I rearranged the living room and then steam cleaned the couches. The spare bedroom I intentionally leave a mess. I wash the linen and all, but I leave it cluttered. I also put 2 holes in the wall, and they're still there. 2. She was lying through omission for the most part. She denied anything was going on because it was not sexual at the time I asked. It was emotional and he was a friend, so she saw nothing wrong with that. That was when the affair fog was thick. 3. The pathetic feeling. I believe it was shame and guilt, not being pathetic. I did struggle with guilt that I thought it was my fault, that there was something wrong with me. It definitely wasn't me, it was all her. I struggled with shame because of the perception that I was too weak to handle my woman. Well, unless I shackle her to the basement and in a cage, you can't stop someone from cheating. Why would I want to control her like that? After lots of counseling and heart-to-hearts, I realized the affair partner could have been anyone. She was going through work burnout, breaking out of her assumed cultural identity, breaking away from her lifelong religion, and dealing with the death of a friend. Not to mention the shame she felt for not being able to provide me a child. She rationalized that this was the only way to push me into a life that I deserved, a life as a wonderful father. So it wasn't as simple as her being weak or drunk or a one-night stand. It was an avalanche that hit her, and we both didn't know how to communicate it emotionally. She regrets not going to a therapist years ago, and I believe her. And now for the update. My wife, former wayward wife, and I, former betrayed husband, have decided to become polyamorous. What does that mean? She and I can pursue relationships outside of our marriage. We do have boundaries established, and we like to meet the other's potential love interest, namely to make sure the outside person will be safe and is not cheating on their significant other. This change requires complete honesty, openness, truth, and consent. So, I struggle a little bit with the feeling of hypocrisy while in this sub, because we are not monogamous anymore. Although, I'm not sure I should. Why? Because of the clear and open communication we now have in our marriage. I mean, what makes sex or an emotional connection an affair? The secrecy. The hiding of said relationships from your significant other. We don't hide anything anymore. We have the difficult conversations and hide nothing. Just wondering what some of you may think. It's me being vulnerable to all of you, not hiding my actions in order to maintain an assumed behavior or relationship. In other words, no secrets being hidden from me to this sub. If the mods believe I should leave, then I will. Thanks, everyone. Well, that was certainly a change in direction. Or should I say, multiple directions since it's poly. Thanks for tuning in to the Sire. If you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button. Subscribe for more unique insights. Catch you in the next one.